Everybody, it's Jason Hennessey. Welcome to your legal marketing brain trust. Here's a question that comes up a lot. What are the best SEO tools and what should I be using to track performance? And so I wanted to take a shot at that video and just kind of go through all of the different tools that I use and our company uses, because this is really more of like a personal preference type of question. But there are certainly tools that I would imagine that every single person that does SEO successfully uses, and I'll mention those in this video. So let's get started. The first thing that I like to use is a tool called Domain Tools. This just kind of gives me a little bit of the history of the domain itself. Like, for example, I can see when a domain is going to expire, right? So it looks like for this site, Los Angeles DUI Attorney, it doesn't expire till 2027. A lot of times I see people only registering their domain name for a year in advance, which is an algorithmic signal that you're sending to Google that you might not be in business that much longer. It also shows us the age of the domain. This domain is 6,114 days old. I can see the name servers. I can see where the IP address is. I can see, a lot of information about the particular domain, right? And so if there's ever an issue where a site might have gotten penalized, sometimes you might even, take this tool and go 2 or 3 steps further to see about, if there's multiple domains that are on the same IP address that could be harming each other, right? So, but anyway, just as a cursory look, this is just where I start, just to kind of look at the history of the domain. The second thing that I use is Google. I mean, Google is an amazing SEO tool. If you know how to use some of the advanced search queries. A friend of mine, Stephen Spencer, wrote a book called The Power of Search. And this tool kind of goes into a lot of the detail about some of the more advanced Google search queries that you can use to discover any type of issues or problems and things. I'll just give you a couple here. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to do a site command search, and then I put in Los Angeles DUI Attorney. I'm just using this one as a reference. And so it tells me that there's 1,400 pages of content that's indexed on Google. So this is something that you might want to look at for your site, and then look at the 3 competitors that are ranking much higher than you for some of the terms that you're trying to target. If they have 10,000 pages indexed, well, you might have a lot of catching up to do. Another thing is, sometimes this is misleading. So like, for example, if there's 1,400 pages that are indexed, then I would use another tool that I will reference here called Screaming Frog. Screaming Frog allows me to kind of crawl the website as though I was Google. And so when I look at the entire crawl, one of the things that I'm looking at is 200 status OKs. That means that the pages are all loading correctly. But I want to see how many pages are here, right? And so in this case, it looks like there's 1,989 pages here. But a lot of things, like, for example, like these page 6s, page 8s, like we don't have those indexed. So it's not going to be a 1-for-1, meaning like you would see that there's 1,400 pages indexed and there's 1,400 pages that are actually being crawled. But if there's a much larger discrepancy, let's just say you have 25,000 pages that are being crawled, but you only have 1,400 that are indexed, then maybe you might have some crawling problems with your website. So that's just one of the things that we look at. You want to make sure that, as you do this, that there's not a lot of 404s or 301 redirects. I was just looking at this site, like, for example, if I go and I look at the H1 tag, and H1 is called the header tag. And so right away I see that it looks like we publish 2 pages of content that are targeting the same term, right? What happens when you get a DUI in Los Angeles? So that's not a good thing, right? So this tool would let me see that. And so we would basically go in and either redirect one of the pages to the other, or combine the content and make one stronger page. So just things that we can see here. I can see which images are over, that over 100 KB that need to be compressed, right? That's slowing the server down. There's a lot of different things that you can use this tool for. This is where you start to get into the more of the technical aspects of the site, and this tool can be a little bit intimidating. I get that. So anyway, moving on. So I told you how many pages that are indexed on the site. I could also do another step further. So I can do site command, and I could put the URL in, and then I could put in title, meaning like I want to find keywords that are indexed on this particular site that use the word Burbank in the title, right? So in this case, I do that search, site, Los Angeles DUI attorney, space, in title, and then I put Burbank, and it'll show that I just have one page that's indexed for, Burbank DUI lawyer. If there was 4 of these pages, then that might be a problem, right? I did the same thing for site, Los Angeles DUI attorney, and then I put in title Los Angeles DUI. And so in this case, right, I do have multiple pages here. It looks like there's about 3 results, right? 3 search engine result pages that are indexed that use the term Los Angeles DUI somewhere within the title, right? So this is the main page that I want to rank, right, which is my Los Angeles DUI page. But then we have a lot of FAQs and stuff that also reference getting a DUI in Los Angeles. So what I would do here is I would go into these pages and make sure that these pages are linking back to this page, so that I say that, I want to make sure that all the authority for this term passes back to the main page that I want to be ranking for that term. So, some of the things that we like to do. This is another tool. It's called SEMRush. This is a tool that lets you get a sense of how well a site is performing from an organic perspective, right? So as you're publishing more content and your site is naturally maybe building links and popularity, your traffic should be lifting, right? The number of pages that your index should be growing. And so therefore the number of keywords that your site is targeting should also be growing. So this is a site that we launched back in like November of 2015. And you can see back at such time, the site was only ranking for 5 keywords, then 6 keywords, then 324 keywords, 1,000 keywords, 14, right? Now it's up to 20,000 keywords, 5 years later. It also gives you an estimate of how much your site is worth. So if you put it through this tool, and this is a free tool, but I would recommend that you get the paid version. I think you only get a couple trials per day or something like that, and then you have to use the paid version. But this is one of those tools that I highly recommend that you pay for. It's called SEMRush. But this is showing us that the value of the site is about $189,000 per month. That's how much money I would have to pay on using a pay-per-click strategy to get the same organic traffic, using these 20,000 keywords with the estimated search volume and the percentage of traffic that this tool accounts for, using their algorithm. And this is a great tool to reverse engineer content strategies of some of your competitors too. We do that all the time, right? You put your website in there, and then you look at your competitor's website and you see some of the terms that they're ranking for, and then that basically helps you build a content strategy. All right, moving along here. So Copyscape, amazing tool. Play with me if you will, right? You hired a writer. They're writing a lot of content for you. They're publishing it. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully you're giving them just a very specific strategy to follow, and you're not just letting them pick content at will. But assuming that you've been going down that route for 2 years, and you just had a blogger writing 4 blogs per month, and you don't even realize what they're writing, well, there's a very good chance that they might be just taking content from other different sites and putting it on your site and plagiarizing the content. You just don't know about it. So Copyscape is a great tool where you just put your URL in there. You can get a paid account. I'd recommend that. It's not very expensive. It's based on the number of searches that you do, but it'll go out and crawl the web within minutes and actually tell you if you have any duplicate content. And so if you do have a lot of duplicate content, that content needs to be fixed. That's a problem. So this basically goes out and looks across the web, and it sees if there's any other websites out there that either you're plagiarizing their content or they're plagiarizing your content. That's another good reason for this tool is you might have written content and other people are plagiarizing, right? And so that's a whole nother problem that could be caused. The other one is Siteliner. This is the same as Copyscape, except it looks internally, right? So if you're writing a lot of content and you might have 2 articles that have the same exact content and you don't know it, or again, maybe somebody's taking shortcuts and you're writing practice area pages for different cities and they're just basically swapping out the city name but leaving the rest of the content the same. That'll never work, right? And so you would get tripped up as a duplicate content filter. And so Siteliner is a great tool to actually run out and show you how much internal duplicate content that you have. This is some serious stuff, guys. I would pay very close attention to both internal and external duplicate content. PageSpeed Insights, I can't stress the importance of making sure that your site is loading quick. The beautiful thing about this tool is you don't need to know all of the technical jargon, right? I mean, you just need to basically run the tool and see whether or not it's in the green or not. And this stuff fluctuates daily. I mean, it really does. You might publish a new article and forget to compress an image, and next thing you know, it brings it from a 93 down to a 23, right? Stuff like that. The things that make this load, make the site load slower, are a lot of the different scripts that are running in the background. So like chat, analytics, putting, all the different scripts, maybe you have call tracking, things like that. That's some of the stuff. So it's very hard to get to 100%, but if you're in the green, that's a good thing. Again, you don't need to know how to use the tool. You just need to know how to run the report. And hopefully you have somebody that is a webmaster or somebody that can fix this stuff, and you basically hire them to fix it. They run the report, they get a green score. You run the report, you get a green score, and everybody's happy. Mobile, right? We've got some issues on this site that we've got to fix. It's only a 59 out of 100. Ideally, I want to try to get that into the 90 percentile here, right? But it shows me specific things that we can fix here, right? So first thing on Tuesday morning, I'm going to get with my team and be like, what the heck, right? And so we're going to go through and we're going to make sure that they fix it. And I don't need to know how they fixed it. All I'm going to do is on Thursday, I'm going to run the report, and this better be in the green, right? So things like that. And again, mobile's a lot harder. Like it's not easy to get into the green. Like sometimes you've got to sacrifice things. You might have to remove chat from mobile in order to get in the green. Like there's things like that that come into factor here. Ahrefs, this is another amazing tool. It's a paid tool. I think they have a 7-day trial for $7. This tool is basically a tool to go out and to see your website's popularity by way of the number of backlinks that you have. And I'm not so concerned about how many backlinks, right? In this case, we've got 2,550 backlinks linking back to us. But what I'm more concerned about is the referring domains, right? The number of referring domains that are actually linking back to the site. And you can see that the link graph has been growing, which is a good sign here. This tool will show you that, it has a different database. So this tool says that the site ranks for 19,000 keywords, whereas SEMRush said that the site was ranking for 20,000, right? So it's very similar. And this is all great considering that none of those tools have access, like direct access to our analytics, right? So these tools are just using their own proprietary algorithms to guesstimate, I guess, if you will. Another amazing feature on this tool is they've got a section here called Top Pages. And so the top pages will show you all of the different pages that are actually ranking and which pages are ranking for more keywords. So like this page right here, how long does a DOI stay in your record, is ranking for 534 keywords. I can see all of the different keywords here. I can go to the next 100. So again, this is an amazing tool, folks. So it's not only a link analysis tool, it's also a content analysis tool too, as well. Search Console. You guys can't live without Search Console. If you don't have Search Console installed on your site, I recommend you maybe pausing this video right now and going to do that. It's so uber important. I mean, it really is. It's the only way that Google can have a conversation with you, a two-way conversation with you. It'll show you like what your impressions look like per day. And some of this stuff is overlap with analytics. Don't get Search Console confused with analytics. Analytics is different. This tool is basically meant to give you keywords, right? Analytics used to give you keywords. Nowadays, they don't give you that much data there. So this is where they basically started to store the keywords. So you can see, like, for example, over the past 28 days, is it illegal to smoke weed in your car, right? 52 clicks, 231 impressions. When I do that search, right, there we are ranking #1. When I click on the page, great, there's the page. One of the things that I might do here to make this page sticky, which we covered in another video for the pogo stick effect, is to add a video, right? So I might go through and look at the top performing pages and actually start to create videos to keep the people on the page a little bit longer. But anyway, so that's part of this, as you can see different queries and the pages that are performing well. But more importantly, all of the performance stuff here, right? We've got a full team at our agency that specializes in just specific task associated with Google Search Console, our technical team, right? So like you can go through this and you can look at the mobile usability, right? There's 671 valid and then there's 0 that are non-valid, right? I bet that if you don't have Search Console set up and you're not paying attention to this, I'd imagine that you have a lot of stuff where there's errors that you have to fix. And we've seen like major spikes in rankings and traffic just by going in and fixing this stuff, folks. I mean, it's that important. I mean, there's a reason why Google is putting this out there on a platter for you to look at. Breadcrumbs, if you don't know what a breadcrumb is, not the breadcrumbs that you leave at the table after eating pizza. Breadcrumbs is something different. It is, let me see if I could just grab an example here. So this is a breadcrumb here, right here, resources, home, right? That's breadcrumb because it's taking you back to the original source. So there's a whole strategy behind implementing good breadcrumbs. And so this will show if there's any issues or errors with your breadcrumbs, any review snippets with, in this case, it looks like there's one issue with 49 errors that we want to make sure that we go in and fix. Again, this is something that you should be monitoring on at least a monthly basis, but preferably like a weekly basis. Any of the site links, if there's any issues with that, if there's any issues with videos, which in this case, it looks like there's 3. And then most importantly, if your site gets hit with a manual penalty, meaning that you did something to trip Google algorithmically, where it saw, some type of an issue where maybe somebody went and actually looked at the site and gave you a manual penalty. And so if there's any type of manual action, it'll show you right here, what the issue was. And they're pretty vague in describing what the problem is. Like they might say that you did something with link building that went outside our Google guidelines. We want you to fix. And so from there, then you would use this tool to go to the disavow file. Again, another thing that we talked about in a previous video, to submit a disavow file and then submit something called a reconsideration request to get out of the manual penalty. So you end up in Google jail, basically, right? There is such a thing. So that's Google Search Console. Bing also has a Webmaster tools as well. I'd recommend that you do that because, there might be some similar data, but then again, there might be other data that you can get insights that Bing has that Google does not have. Analytics, I can create a whole video on analytics. In fact, I might have our director of analytics, Brandon Caballero, maybe put together a nice video like with an informative update about what goes into analytics. But for the purposes of this video, it's a tool. It's an important tool. Everybody should have access to it. Yoast SEO, if you're using WordPress websites, I don't think there's anything better than Yoast for optimizing H1 tags and title tags and just basically formatting the on page of a site. So Yoast is probably the best on the market. And then call tracking. It's not really an SEO tool. It's more of a conversion tool. we use call tracking metrics. There's many. There's one called Mongoose. There's CallRail, right? But you should definitely have some type of call tracking metrics as well. And so there's many tools. If I go and do a Google search, sure. I mean, I could probably find other tools that we use for very specific reasons and such. But as far as just having the starter kit where, maybe on Father's Day, your kid comes home with the SEO toolbox from Home Depot. Well, these would be the screwdriver, the hammer, the mandatory things that you should have. So anyway, I hope this video was informative. As always, thank you for watching. If there's any other questions or concerns, please be sure to leave them in the comments below, and I'll address those questions as well. You guys have a fantastic day.